Hi there. So you may have seen a short that I recently did, and I felt to expand on the number one reason or compelling thing that you needed to do when you start your healing journey. I'll start off with that everyone's healing journey is different. It's not a one size fits all, but there are common things that occur along people's journey. I shared in an earlier video in a short of what I feel is really important. One of the first steps that we need to do, we need to take some power back. We need to get in touch with the heart, sink in, get quiet for a little bit. Like, why? Why am I going to start this journey? What's going to help me through those really difficult times? On a healing journey, it's often like a sort of a dark tunnel. You might start off at the beginning before you even enter the tunnel. Like, why am I going to enter that tunnel? What's going to be the compelling reason? And that is unique to everyone. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. It doesn't matter what the answer is, as long as it's meaningful for you. Now, I've shared before that mine started out of ethics. I was working whilst training as a psychotherapist in a clinic, and it became evident that about 95% of my practice was women who'd experienced childhood sexual abuse. Now, I knew that I'd experienced that, especially I had memories of that as an adolescent, but I also had a sense that I'd experienced much earlier CSA with the symptoms and the lived experience of how that was rippling out in my life. And I, out of ethics, could not sit in a room with those women and not have gone to those depths within myself. Even if I was just half a step ahead, then that was okay. Because when you're sitting with a client, if you can't hold that feeling within you and go there and be okay, they know that. They're not going to go there as well. I wanted to be able to sit in a room with clients and to be able to serve them. And to do that, I had to work on myself. Healer, heal thyself. So that was my starting point, but that evolved. As I started that journey, that motive evolved into a more self-caring, self-loving motive, where it was like, I actually deserve to heal from me. I don't want to be held back by these symptoms. I don't want to keep choosing the same relationships over and over and over again, because I'm reenacting some of those early relational experiences. And I'll talk more about reenactments and how these kind of early relational experiences become like a blueprint that we live out of. And until we've healed those early relational experiences, that's the blueprint we follow. As adults, that's the relationships that we keep choosing. I wanted something new for myself. This is part of how we create new possibilities for ourselves. So it became more of a self-loving, self-nurturing thing. And I view it as my responsibility. In abuse and trauma, of course, there have been experiences where you've been a victim to something, and that's not your fault, especially as a child. But as an adult, it becomes our responsibility. Not fault, responsibility. Like, what am I going to do with the impacts that I have experienced? What am I going to do with that? How am I going to turn that into something? Not just heal from it, but turn that into something where it makes me better, stronger, wiser, lover, more compassionate, more bound, more discerning of what goes on in the world. Now, to get to that journey, we need a compelling reason of why am I going to stay with myself? Because ultimately, the healing journey is processing a whole lot of feeling. When we experience abuse, be that as an adult or as a child, this thing here, your prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, is offline. When something happens that is really scary and floods us, especially as a child, because that prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, we experience it on a very somatic, that's the physical body, sensations, an emotional level, and we're operating on that reptilian brain. That fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses gets programmed in there, and all of those feelings that happened at that time that we weren't able to work through because we work through those feelings. It's okay for you to experience a scare as a child, and hopefully you have a relationship with a caregiver that can help you work through that, make sense of that, feel your feelings, let them go. Often with trauma and abuse, that doesn't happen. That's the relational wounding that makes a secondary traumatic impact to the original trauma or abuse. So that gets stored somewhere in our psyche, our energy matrix, in our bodies, split off. Healing is about bringing that back so we re-experience some of those feelings. Now, you might be saying, but I'm experiencing those anyway, like through a PTSD flashback. Yeah, but we need to be the relationship that we didn't have. A moment ago, I talked about it's okay to feel scared, and we have a relationship with a primary caregiver, and they help you work that through. They are holding steady, they're holding that safe space, and they are helping you feel calm, because someone's calm in the room. They're empathizing with you, they're letting you feel as you feel. They might give you some feedback and explain what's going on so you don't feel bonkers and you're losing your mind. As an adult, we've got to develop that for ourselves. We've got to be the safe adult in the room with these parts of ourselves that's coming back, the split off parts, the suppressed parts, the bits that are all over the place like that fractured mirror. We have got to bring those back. Sometimes they're coming back because it just feels time. There's like some cosmic wisdom and knowing that the soul itself knows when your psyche as a human is ready. It's ready to heal. So this stuff can start coming back. So if you're going through that, like, well, I didn't choose this journey of healing, but it's all here because these parts and the soul that you are knows that you are ready. We may not feel it in moments because it can be like, are you sure about this? Because I'm holding on here. But we have to become and develop that safe, strong, calm, empathic, warm, nurturing and boundaried adult that we wished we would have had during that time to help us work through these feelings. So that compelling reason of why am I going to stay with these feelings at 2 a.m. when all I feel is I'm going through this dark path? Why am I going to do that? Because often when these feelings come up, especially that to that depth, this is when all our coping mechanisms come up. Now, they can be extreme coping mechanisms like addiction. This is when I drink. This is when I eat. That's when I reach for the candy and the chocolate. That's when I gamble. That's when I have sex. That's when I binge watch and watch a load of TV. That's when I just naturally kick out and leave the body and disassociate and numb. I've had one client who was epileptic, and when these feelings were coming up, she wouldn't take her epileptic medication. She didn't know that consciously, but she bravely came to know that, because when she didn't take her epileptic medication, she'd have a seizure, and then she didn't have to feel for like 4 days. So we can do a whole host of things, that these obvious big things, but even things like that's when I have an argument with my partner. That's when I get really busy. That's when I focus on that person over there who said that thing and did that thing and was really annoying and is justified. We are distracting from what's coming up within us. We're making it about something that's only a little bit about now. When we're on a healing journey, this is the stuff from the past that is ready to come up. And how are we going to stay with that? How are we going to be the parent in the room that we wished we'd had to be with us during those moments? That's where you've got to find your compelling reason. That's where you've got to find your why. It's important. Might be just because I deserve it, because I went through this awful experience as a child, and therefore I'm not going to do that to me now. Therefore, I'm going to be the one that gives me a new experience. So what is your reason? And it can change. It doesn't have to be fan-dabby-dozy, amazing, clear one. It's like, why do you want to do this? It can be just because you're sick of how things are. You're sick of dealing with the symptoms. You want something different. Sometimes clients come to me and things are really quite broken. It's a little bit like an addict, really, who decides to come off drugs. They need a reason. They need a reason to go through that detox. They need a reason to go through that hell. They need a reason to not pick up another drink or drug when they're out of rehab. What's the reason? Sometimes it can be really intense, and I don't want to pre-frame that for everyone because it may not be for you. Healing might be a graceful, growthful, amazing journey, and I hope that for everyone. But it generally, we face some dark, gnarly parts, and we can be graceful through that. And that's what your compelling reason is for, to be graceful within that process, to give you a reason to keep going. That's the whole point, is to keep going through that tunnel. Thank you. This is what I'm feeling. That reason for me was like, thank you. This is what I'm feeling. It will pass. I'm not going to be in here forever. And I'd look back and go, I've gone through dark tunnels before. I didn't stay there. I'm going to move through this. I don't know how, but I will. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing healing. It's a really important part of the focus, is to put our focus on, I am healing this. It's not that the trauma or the feelings are swallowing me. I am the healer. I am the parent. I am the carer for this. I will get through this. I am healing. I am choosing to love. Despite evidence sometimes, despite any evidence that it will, but it does if we keep that mindset and that attitude and that alignment, because we're aligning to all that we are. If we talk about healing, who does the healing? Well, it's not me. I'm talking in terms of working with clients. I'm not healing a client. I'm not God in that way. And is it me that's healing me? Is it Claire that heals Claire? I don't know about that. Like if I get a big wound on my arm, I don't go in there and start knitting all those cells together. I might apply something or do something that's really helpful. Like I will add extra nourishment or protection. I'll clean that wound out. I'll be mindful of that arm if anyone's walking around, and protect it. That's in my power and ability, and it is my responsibility. But I'm not doing the healing. Like the body has an innate sense of healing. I'm just kind of getting out of the way. I'm not doing things like, I'm not scratching at it or picking at it, or I'm noticing stuff like, oh, there's a bit of an infection there. Better go and address that and do what I need to do to support the healing process. So me as Claire needs to do the things I need to do to support the healing process, and I need to stop doing anything that doesn't support the healing process. So that's what we can do as the individuals. But with that, we also choose, this is going to heal. If we've got something that's wrong in our bodies, we hold the hope and the knowing that all things can heal. The bodies can heal miraculously. What does the healing? Well, there's an innate intelligence, nature, physis, the spirit of physis. Within all living things is that innate spirit and desire to grow and evolve. We can help get into that slipstream. We can support that, and healing can occur. We just have to provide an environment. We need to be that parent that supports that process through, but allow healing to occur through you, allow change to occur through you. That's what creates the new possibilities. We don't have that limitation of, this is what healing's going to look like. This is what I'm going to look like at the end. You don't know. I don't know. Like with our arm, with that wound, we don't know if there'll be a scar. We don't know what that will look like, how long that will heal. But it will, and it can, and it's possible. So let's check our motivation and check our alignment and our focus. But this is a really important one. Our focus, I'm focusing on healing here. I'm focusing on growing through this, being stronger, wiser, lover, fitter, brighter, more discerning, more compassionate than I have been before, and trusting that will come. Healing is evident. We just have to be supportive of that, get in the slipstream of that, let healing occur through us, trust that healing is going to occur. We don't do the healing. We are not the fixers. Healing will occur, and stop doing the things that aren't working, that aren't supportive. And again, we'll address that in another time. All right, take care, everyone, and hope to see you or hear from you soon.